So I'm really interested in the ways that we might have organised schools to deal with behaviour. So I have one concern that we have two tracks of systems that are designed to support children. So in the high schools we have special needs departments and SENCOs, and on the other side we have pastoral routes and disciplinary systems. And sometimes the young people that I work with get trapped within pastoral and disciplinary routes. We need to get these two departments working more closely together and having a more holistic view of childhood.
So in classrooms, sometimes things erupt, and it's almost like a force comes into the room. It's often, when a kid gets really angry or really acts up or does something that's really difficult to manage. And I want to think about that as a person then at that moment being almost inhabited or taken over by a force, by a kind of energy. Okay, so thinking about this force that erupts into the classroom, we often identify that with a person and say that it's something internal to them that's coming out. And our sort of intuition then is to control it or to fix the person. But I have a totally different way of thinking about that force. That force is like the history of the past coming and inhabiting a body. And so some young people grow up in places where some of their basic fundamental needs are not actually being met. And I'm thinking then about this force that might erupt in our classroom as connected up. So connected up through time, but also through the place where a person is being brought up.
You need to look at the young people and think, what sort of background are they coming from? Would I like to be in that, would I like to come from that environment? We've got young people here who have got, they're in awful situations.
I think it's really important to think about behaviour as something that's more complex. And so rather than just seeing the things that happen every day for children, I like to think of it as a form of communication or language. And it's our job to try and get beneath the surface, to try and understand what we think the child is trying to say.
Often young people can't tell you why they're so angry, upset or frustrated. So if we think about this force actually as the social and historical, something outside them rather than inside them, what we might be able to do is to be able to use that force rather than be frightened of it, rather than try and, if you like, stop a person. I take a view that art can act as a passage, as a form of communication that's different to language and text. So if we think about this force as possibly a generative force, what we might be able to do is, as we work with a young person, and of course I'm working usually with art, with material, with paint, with bits of paper and tissue paper and cardboard and stuff, we might look out for a moment when that person becomes really engaged and you can feel that they're connecting with the material, with the matter. In a sense then, we're finding something essential that potentially could become a communication.